Welcome to East-West Horizon. This is California. I'm Sylvia Tian. If the American dream was once the dream of a generation all over the world, people hoped to come to the United States to achieve their dreams, breaking the cocoon into a butterfly through hard work, just like Elon Musk, who came to the United States from South Africa. Democracy has been ruined by American politicians. Now the American democratic system exaggerates the interests of very small groups, kidnaps the public opinion, suppresses the voice of the majority, creates new injustice, creates selective discrimination, and does not reward based on merit. It seems that all the miserable people are in the United States. In schools, the gift programs are canceled, and merit-based admissions have long been replaced by unfair equity admissions. No incentives are created. Enterprises, governments, and school districts have become welfare institutions. Everyone wants to sell miserable stories and look pitiful. In such circumstance, Eileen Gu, raised by a single parent in an immigrant family of color, has broken through many obstacles and stood on the podium of the Olympic Games with confidence, like the sunshine. Not miserable, not showing weaknesses, not pretending to be pitiful. She is a really atypical American. She is not integrating into American environment and the context of the mainstream media. She is really politically incorrect.
This is what the Olympics are really all about. For someone to make a name for themselves, you think about athletes who are much more celebrated, like Michaela Schifrin, who went into these games as the Golden Girl and a Sports Illustrated cover girl, and she's completely flamed out. So for Eileen Gu to be able to come to the games and rise to the occasion and have a record-breaking performance, thrust herself on the stage, it was inevitable that there was going to be some social media backlash.
Another Chinese-American gold medalist, Nathan Chen, has similar background. Moreover, these two young athletes are straight-A students too. One is about to start Stanford undergraduate program, and the other is already enrolled at Yale for the past 2 years. These two Chinese Americans are definitely not American enough. As a result, the American mainstream media and the brainwashed public do not like to accept such disobedience. As a result, on the world stage, everyone saw that a group of American journalists attacked. People who is unfamiliar with voting system may not understand that the worst root of voting system is to create opposition and division. There's no way to win without division and no way to get votes without creating opposition. The true meaning of elections and ballots is not what voters support, but what voters unanimously oppose. Statistics show that Eileen Gu has 1 million followers on Instagram. Nathan Chen has 560K. And other outstanding Chinese-American athletes have even less followers. Fake news American mainstream media is known for manipulating facts, taking out of context, generalizing, discriminating, and using double standards. Nathan Chen's news value is not great, but Eileen Gu can be used as a bullet to attack opponents. As a result, Eileen Gu's nationality issue was highly politicized. Western media seem to have amnesia. In the United States, it is a common practice to see the athletes play for their home country or other countries, and even team up to win gold medals. According to Lincoln Mitchell, a writer who teaches at Columbia University, Team Israel from the 2017 World Baseball Classic managed to defeat the Netherlands, South Korea, Taiwan, and even Cuba. But they did that with a roster made up almost entirely of Americans. At that time, did any American journalist question their nationality? The resentment of the United States facing its diplomatic and geopolitical opponents, as well as its gradually losing its status as the #1 economic power, were used by American journalists to deal with an 18-year-old young athlete. When sports are politicized. There is no trace of the demeanor of a great power at all. The United States has never achieved the so-called equality to Asians and Chinese Americans. As Michelle Go was pushed off the subway in New York, the hate crime against Asian Americans increased by nearly 339% in the past 2 years. The United States' own internal affairs are rating the lowest in history. The death and abuse of ethnic minorities is either downplayed or covered up by the mainstream media. I hope that one day United States will be questioned about its human rights issues and discrimination, reverse discrimination, and targeted discrimination against Asians. Homeless, human and animal poops are everywhere. Looting, carjacking, and burglary are happening every day. They have replaced the sunshine, beach, and palm tree and become the new icon of California and New York. If the people are proud and are willing to represent the country in various arenas, that is this country's success. If a country must rely on nationality and passports to hold its athlete hostage, these freedom of nationality and the choice of democracy are the loudest slap in its face. If the United States cannot even provide a sense of security and ignoring citizens being pushed off the subway, is it still qualified to demand loyalty and gratitude? Is everyone expected to be grateful for not being attacked on the street and not being pushed off in the subway? Finally, talking about Eileen Gu and Nathan Chen, all Chinese and overseas Chinese should be proud and should support them with all your heart. Chinese Americans are not angels and should not be perfect in any sense. Dual citizenship are originally granted by the U.S. Constitution. Why can others use them while Chinese Americans should be condemned by the American society? Does the U.S. support dual citizenship but exclude Chinese American? If China does not pursue the issue of Eileen Gu's nationality, the United States has no position to pursue it at all. Individualism and not being perfect is the fundamental American value. I still remember the time when China was poor and weak, with no capital, no connections, and no market. It ran into wars everywhere and was disliked in all kinds of ways. No one restricts anyone from becoming a capital tyrant. If you can, get your capital. Not all people with resources can become talents, and not all people who graduate from prestige schools can make history. Anyone's success should be congratulated as long as it's legal. Chinese Americans in the United States need 10 times, 100 times more successful children like Eileen Gu and Nathan Chen, and successful parents like Gu Yan. Enjoy the success. Be confident, be loud, and be bold. If Chinese Americans want to improve their social status, political status, and voice out in the United States, we must support the success of all Chinese Americans, abandoning the mainstream American narratives. Because there has never been a single mainstream buzzword coined for Asian or Chinese Americans. Once the term minority was coined by Hispanics. Now that Hispanics have become the largest ethnic group in California, colored skin is tailored by African Americans and for African American. Black Lives Matter. Do you think these phrases include Chinese Americans? Absolutely not. Chinese Americans need to have our own stars and bring out our own vocabularies and narratives. For example, Eileen Gu said, "I'm American when I'm in United States." These two golden sentences are not only accurate, but also widely accepted. From international and intellectual perspective, they strike the face of all those with narrow minds and narrow vision. Supporting Eileen Gu to become a fashion and leader among young people in the United States is the most important thing for Chinese Americans to do. Chinese Americans should use their strengths to break through the old tradition of discrimination and unfairness. If the United States do not adjust its treatment of self-reliant minorities, how many people will feel the honor of representing the United States in the future? By all means, every Olympic athlete was supported by his family. How can the United States be so entitled to ask athletes to represent U.S.? Where has freedom gone? Where has democracy gone? Where have human rights gone?